I don't know. You ever get the feeling that sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, Jesse?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh! Welcome to Progressive Soup. My name is David Stevenson. Tonight, my guest is the Reverend Jesse Shrack, and we're going to talk about what friends can do to help us in times of need, and also what God can do to help us in times of need. And we're going to do a little balancing act to determine what God can do to help us and what friends can do to help us, and try to juxtapose and do a religious show and a secular show at the same time, because there's a lot of commonality, I think, between religious people and lesser or non-religious people. How can God help us, Jesse? I got a problem.
Well, God can help us in all different ways. He can help us when we're going through troubled times. If we lose like a loved one or anything like that.
That's one of the great tragedies that strike in life. Yeah.
Exactly. God will be there to comfort us and everything. But a lot of times, a lot of things goes on in your life. But a lot of people don't realize that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And when we fully accept Him, He can help us out in so many ways that nobody around us can. Like it says in John 3:3, except a man be born again, he cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven. The only way to really go into heaven, you got to accept Christ for who He is, which is God's Son.
And on the other side of the coin, a lot of people that don't accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, as the Son of God, sometimes don't accept religion. They find the strength within themselves. So it sounds like it's a little bit of a balancing act for some people as to whether personally they can find the inner strength, or if they want or desire that external force that comes from religion.
Well, a lot that don't accept religion for what it is. And the greater end times, everybody's going to end up seeing that it's the truth. That,
perhaps.
Thing. But right now, while we're still here on this earth in this sinful world, a lot of people ain't going to come to the knowledge, ain't going to come to the realization that there is a God out there, and He wants to help us, but He gave us a choice.
Well, point well taken, in the sense that I know that a lot of people don't accept religion through a better portion of their life until tragedy strikes. And a lot of times tragedy will strike, and a lot of people that don't have that sense of religion will become religious when they need it the most.
Exactly.
When they feel like they've lost control of what's going on in their life, and they'll reach out. It happens to a lot of people. I've seen it happen to friends. But then again, there's a lot of people, myself included, that feel a greater sense of strength from within. And maybe you could explain that as being God within us. And sometimes we don't acknowledge that it's an external force. We think of it as being an internal force. But what about, you talk about tragedies, loss of a loved one dies, passes away. There's a lot of other potential tragedies, loss of job, an illness which doesn't involve loss of life.
Exactly. But also, if you look at the biggest tragedy this world ever faced, which happened on 9/11 in 2001, when the World Trade Center got attacked by them two planes. Have you seen how many people ended up in church after that happened? There were so many people in church, you couldn't even get them out of church.
You're right about that, although I'll have to disagree about that being as immense a tragedy. It was a personal tragedy for a lot of us.
Exactly.
And in fact, for a lot of people worldwide, there was a great rush to let us know, people from far-flung countries, even Iran. Iran stepped forward and said, we're behind you. What can we do to help?
Exactly.
But there have been so many other tragedies, I think, that probably dwarf, over the course of a long period of history, probably dwarf that tragedy.
Exactly.
Although, it was a personal tragedy for, particularly here in Fairfield County, where a lot of us had family and friends that died. On those planes or in the trade towers. So for us, it was a personal tragedy. But relative to other things that have happened in the world and other religious events, because I had a conversation with a friend the other day about there's a lot of controversy now about building a mosque near the World Trade Center, and I have friends that are across the political spectrum. Some of them say, certainly there's no connectivity between Islam and these extremists, these 19 hijackers, and people that back them. And there's other people that say that there was a direct correlation, and there's other people that say, I have a good friend Susan, who says that it's absolutely their right to build the mosque there, but it's also her right to disapprove of it. And I haven't quite. We're still in discussion about that.
Exactly. But me personally, I do not agree that they should build it close to the World Trade Center, close to Ground Zero, because a lot of people lost their life that day that was attacked at this World Trade Center. Okay. A lot of people.
Okay, but here's a comparison, though. A fellow by the name of Timothy McVeigh took a truck full of ammonium nitrate or whatever the fertilizer, and blew up a large part of a building in Oklahoma City. He claimed to be a very Christian individual and alluded to his acting on behalf of Christianity. And would people be opposed to having a Christian church near where the Murrah building was in Oklahoma City? I see a real parallel there. That if you're going to blame Islam for what happened in 9/11, you can blame Christianity for what happened in Oklahoma City, that happened in a lot of other places. You can blame. There's a lot of blame that can go around for a lot of things that have happened in history.
I am not blaming all of them. It's just that the fact, though, that a lot of the ones that did do what they did were trying to say that God told them to do it. Now, God would not tell nobody to take another human being's life.
You're right. Absolutely.
Okay? If it was from God, he can do it himself.
Yeah.
He don't need help with that area. He got so much power that he can, just by the snap of his fingers.
And I would say that virtually all Muslims, virtually all Jews, virtually all Christians, virtually all atheists and agnostics, and all the other varieties of religions and beliefs, spiritual beliefs, would agree with you that it's none of these things were done in the name of God, certainly.
No, and those that is claiming that they're doing it because God told them to is a lie.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact God would not sit there and tell you to literally blow up or attack a building full of people.
Yeah.
Especially people that could have been Christians, could have loved the Lord. Yep. He would not tell you to take their life.
And a lot of Muslims in the building too. A lot of Jewish people. A lot of folks that. But from what I understand, the argument was that just like with Oklahoma City, the disagreement was not with the people in the building. And of course, in Oklahoma City, the 500 people and the majority of them were little kids in daycare there. But the argument was not with the individuals in the building. The argument was with the government, the powers that be. Somebody was angry at the governmental structures. Actually, in both cases, the religious, Tim McVeigh and the 19 hijackers and the people that backed them up, were angry at the United States government. In fact, I guess with Oklahoma City, that was done on the anniversary of Waco, where government forces came in and ended up whatever was the tear gas or whatever caught something on fire and it burned a lot and killed a lot of people there too. And it was, I think, one of the McVeigh's claims was that was retribution for what happened in Waco. Well, I'm Irish. I'm second generation Irish, and I've seen what went on for many, many, many decades in Ireland. Generations of people striking out at other people because of what somebody's grandfather did to their grandfather, or parent did to their parent, and it's nuts. I think you're right. There's God would never do that. No rational human being would ever perpetrate violence on another human being.
Exactly, and God would not allow somebody to hurt, especially if the person that loves God, somebody trying to come against that person, God would not let nothing happen to him. But for the fact or say tell somebody else to go hurt this person.
Yeah.
Okay, that is nothing but the act of Satan. Okay, they're just doing what Satan's telling them to do. They're not listening to God, because if they would listen to God, they could tell the difference between Satan and God.
Yeah.
Because Satan is the father of lies, and God is our Father.
Well, a lot of people, and I have a lot of friends who are atheists and agnostics, and this is the argument, this is what their rationale is for not being religious, is because of so many things that have been done in the name of Christ, in the name of Muhammad, in the name of leaders of religions, that they say, why should I follow a religion when what people do sometimes is a reflection not at all of what the religion claims to be in favor of, and what we know religions I think of a religion as a way of being somebody needs a rationale to be a better person, and I don't care what rationale you use to be a better person, as long as you're a better person. And that's the way that you and I and people that we know and care about, and they care about us, we find a reason to be a better person, and that's what really the most important thing.
Exactly. And I know there's some people out there with questions about, where does Satan come from?
Yeah.
How can...
Tell us a story of that, because I know that, but I'm sure a lot of people that are watching and that would like to hear what the biblical explanation of Satan, the origins of Satan.
Well, Satan is also known as Lucifer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what Satan was, he is a fallen angel. Mm-hmm. He started out in heaven, and he knows the glory of God. Mm-hmm. He's been there. And what happened, he was the director of the choir in heaven, because they had a choir up there.
Sure.
And that's why
it's a big part of religion, yeah.
And that's why a lot of times also too is that he comes against everybody that worships God, but he also trying to take away the choirs, take away the music part of it, the music worship of it. Yeah. Because what happened was he ended up trying to overthrow God off the throne, and God just tossed him out. And he ended up having he took some angels with him, which is called the fallen angels. Yeah. And he took a few with him, and those are his demons. Yeah. They're all fallen angels. Satan's like the head.
And God chose to cast him out of heaven?
Because they tried to come against him, tried to overtake heaven. Yeah.
On the other... See, I listen more to the thoughts and the behaviors and what Jesus did, and I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, according to biblical interpretation, that Jesus was more of a mind to reach out, and I knew he cast the money changers out of the temple, but I don't think that was that kind of a personal thing. Jesus reached out to people that were prostitutes, were sinners themselves, and he gathered them in. Rather than pushing them away, he loved them all the more because they had an issue. They had issues. They had problems.
Exactly. See, when Christ first came, everybody knew him as the Messiah. But what ended up happening was everybody thought he was coming against that he was going to come to take over the Roman Empire, which he wasn't sent here to do. He was sent here to take on the sins of the world. He was here to die he was here for a purpose. He wasn't here to overtake the Roman Empire. That's not what he was coming for. Right.
Because that would have been playing their game.
And also the reason why he sat with the prostitutes, sat with those sinners, was because he did not come for the righteous. He came for the sinners. Yeah. That's one of the main reasons why he came, was so that we can be set free.
In other words, what people that are not without sin, but that are more righteous already, didn't really need Jesus. They were already in a settled position. He came to help the people Okay, I have a question. I have a question from off camera for both of us. And we get political occasionally on this show, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it. If Jesus were here today, and I got an answer for this that has none of the above. If Jesus were here today, would he be a Democrat, a Republican, a Tea Party member, or an independent? I'll let you answer that one first, and no answer's acceptable. It's a tough question. I mean, it's a very deep, very philosophical, very tough question to think about. I have an answer for you, though.
If he was here, if he hadn't came in, he was here now.
Yeah.
Okay, he came to set us free.
Mm-hmm.
See, a Democrat is normally for the people, for the poor. Okay.
Yeah, typically more labor oriented.
Exactly.
More labor rather than management.
As for a Republican, they're here for the rich.
Yeah,
no offense towards the Republican or nothing,
well,
but they're pretty much is for the rich people.
Yeah, historically, they've been at least as I grew up in Eisenhower, Republicans tended to be a little bit more management in favor of management. Democrats are a little bit more in terms of labor.
And for a Tea Party,
that's a tough one, eh?
But for an independent, I don't think Jesus would be, for himself or whatever, whatever you call it, independent.
Yeah.
Okay, he'll pretty much try to go out and help somebody. Okay, he'll heal somebody. He wouldn't be to himself. He wouldn't thing like that.
Wouldn't be partisan so much.
Exactly.
Yeah, which I guess might, if you want to take that position, he might be a little bit more of an independent, because as we know that I grew up an Eisenhower Republican, as the audience all knows, became an unaffiliated voter and only really joined the Democratic Party in order to vote in. I chose them to vote in their primaries because they tend to represent me much more than Republicans do. But I'm going to contend that Jesus, in fact, before Marx, Jesus was a Marxist because he believed very much in that you should take from the rich, Robin Hood, if you will. You should take that the rich should give up, that they've got plenty that they should share, because you could wipe out poverty. And I think Jesus would be in favor of doing that. And the people that are well-to-do, the elders of the church or the wealthier within a church or within a community, should step forward and do the right thing and give up for the less fortunate.
See, it says somewhere also in the Bible about how a rich person came to Jesus and asked him what must he do to enter the kingdom of heaven. And he told him to give up your riches, give it to the poor, because you have enough. You can go give it to the poor, and that's the only way you can enter into the kingdom of heaven.
Okay. If Jesus were here today, would Jesus be a banker? That's
Jeff's idea.
I think that's what we're going to find a pretty easy answer for. I would imagine probably not. But point well taken about, and there is a point in the Bible, and you can tell me what book and what passage in the Bible about something about being more difficult for a rich man to get into the gates of heaven than for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle, which it's a pretty clear statement about people needing to take care of other people that are needy.
Exactly.
And not take care of themselves and not be outwardly wealthy and opulent.
Exactly. Me, I can say that I'm not made of money. I'm not a wealthy person. I have my share of money, but it ends up because I got bills to pay and everything else.
Yeah, we're middle class,
and everybody has bills to pay. I know that.
Yep.
But the ones that are made of money that can pay their bills, pay the mortgage on the house, pay the car note, everything, they should at least be able to help out somewhere along the line, help out somebody that needs it, without always being a jack about it.
I think the idea of tithing, of giving 10% of your income to church or charity or somewhere where the money gets put ultimately to good use, is a great concept, because that parallels what a lot of us talk about the taxation, our method of taxation, where it's what they call a progressive tax, where people that are wealthier pay a higher percentage. And maybe they should, because if you want to talk in terms of Americans, for people to have the benefits of living in America and all the wealth that you can gain living in America, then why shouldn't you want to give back more? And besides, the money ends up going back to people that need the money, and they'll take the money and they'll spend it, and the money circulates back up to the wealthy, and they get it back eventually anyway.
At the end of the year.
Yeah, and they get a good feeling for doing that.
Because a lot of times, I think you should help out those that need food. If you have so much canned goods, donate it to a soup kitchen.
Sure.
Okay? For those that can't eat and they go to the soup kitchen, they don't have enough food there, they're going to end up turning them away.
Yeah.
Give like jars of peanut butter, whatever you can. Donate them to a soup kitchen, and then at the end of the day, you're going to feel good about yourself that you helped somebody that needed it more than you did. And in the end, not only you're helping them, eventually you're going to get a blessing out of it. Because God cares about those that are on the streets too. Even though a lot that on the streets don't want to help themselves.
So whether your good feeling comes from on high, or whether it comes from within yourself, you're going to get a good feeling for doing a good deed, no doubt.
Exactly, and like the scriptures say, it's better, or like some people say, it's better to give than to receive, because in the long run, when you're giving, eventually you're going to get a blessing for it. Okay, if it's coming truly from your heart, and you're giving it from your heart, you feel that God will want you to, and it's from the heart, you get a blessing for it. He'll open up the heavens windows and throw out a blessing until there ain't no room enough for you to receive anymore. He just lets your cup overflow.
I have a good friend who's a Green Party member who's written a book about if you took the entire wealth of the world, the entire bounty that we have as a species, and I guess you would also probably include the other species, animal species, that there would be enough for everybody, that nobody would ever go hungry, and there'd be no poverty. If you would just, nobody would be wealthy, but nobody would be hungry either. And that sounds like a very noble and probably a very religious concept. And again, as I say, I have many friends that are atheists and agnostics that behave very much as if they were religious people, because for whatever reason they don't attribute their behavior and their belief and their actions to God per se, but they have that desire to do good. So the question I have now, and thank you, James, is unorganized religion valid? And maybe that's a loaded question, but how valid is unorganized religion? Now, the churches organize, and you have some churches that are small congregations, and even within a lot of churches local, you have churches within churches. You have groups of people that speak a foreign language that'll have their designated service at some point during the week.
When it says unorganized, do they mean by those churches that do not start on time, end up getting out later?
I think it's more churches that are. It would be people that probably that choose to either worship God in their homes, with themselves, with their families, and in smaller, smaller group.
I ain't saying there's nothing wrong with you reading the Bible at your home, having your own little service at your home.
Yeah.
But like me and my father says on my program, is that it's better to really get involved with the church, because then you got more Christian members, those that truly love the Lord. Yeah. But I'm not telling them to go out and go to a church. Go visit a church. Yeah. See where you feel the love more. Yeah. And then talk to God, say, is this where you want me?
And certainly the music is a good thing. That's I go to the United Methodist Church in Bethel, and certainly one of the things that I find most appealing about the service is the music. The music gives you a good, warm feeling, and as you say, you find a church that you feel comfortable with. And I guess maybe, let me ask you this, could you maybe draw a parallel between a church and a government? Only in the sense that government's composed of citizens come together to form a government, like we've done in the United States in 1776. And you form a government because a government, people together can accomplish far greater things than people can individually. And I think that's one of the
that's
best
almost like being a part of a church.
Yeah.
You can accomplish a lot doing things as a church for the community. But it's not really the same for government, though.
Right.
A lot of times government, no offense towards the government, just want to get their hand in your pocket. I'm not saying all of them does, but some of them pretty much is.
It's been said sometimes about churches sometimes do that. Sometimes the pastors in churches stray from the appointed task. It happens, and it's unfortunate, and it's not to besmirch any religion that one person does not, one bad apple doesn't spoil the whole bunch.
That also goes to show you, though, when the churches does that, that nobody on this earth is going to be perfect. Okay, everybody is going to slip and fall. Because it says that God is married to the backslider. Who are the backslider? We are. Okay, He knows we're going to sin. He knows we're going to fall short of the glory. Okay, we're never going to be perfect until the day Jesus Christ cracks open that sky and come back for His people, which is called the rapture.
Okay, we're going to go back to the original question we brought on the show, and that's about people stepping in and helping friends, helping family members in times of crisis, and also the idea of God stepping in and helping us in times of crisis. Because bad things happen sometimes, and partly bad things that happen to us are brought on by our own behavior. As you say, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Exactly.
So when we have a family member, or even we ourselves, have a problem, make bad decisions, family, God, church can step in, and we're going to come back with another show one day on this. Good night, this is Progressive Soup.